Now, we're going to talk about the playoffs. These are final interviews. Ordinary people see everything as a blessing or a curse. The warrior sees everything as a challenge. This is where it really gets good, after the initial interview. 44% of the employers that you're going to talk to are going to interview at least 3 times. Everything changes after the initial interview. Can't tell you the number of candidates I've talked to over the years said, well, I made it past the initial interview, I'm going to get the job. No, no, no. Totally different ballgame. Our analogy in our organization is going from first base to second base to third base and then to home. Just because you're on first base going to second doesn't mean a darn thing. You need to be aware that it's going to change and your risk factors are going to be more pronounced. The more people there are in the interviewing process, the more likely you are to get eliminated and the harder it is going to be. And don't assume that everybody is on the same page. Just because you interviewed with a hiring authority, the people that you go to above him or her may not be seeing it the same way. There are all kinds of frustrations you're going to run into with these kinds of interviews. They're going to tell you this is a rubber stamp interview. There is no such thing as a rubber stamp interview. None. If they couldn't say no, they wouldn't be talking to you, right? I had one not too long ago. He went to visit corporate, and they lined him up 7 people to interview. One of the guys got sick, so they just pulled somebody in to interview the guy. And the interviewing authority said, I don't even know why I'm here talking to you. I don't even know what the job is. They just wanted to make sure that somebody got a chance to interview. So tell me what you're interviewing for and what are you about? And you're thinking, what's with this? Okay? So you best be prepared for it. Tony's 10-day rule. If you have activity with an organization and they don't do something to call you back within 10 working days, don't count on it for anything. Be prepared for the paradox of urgency. Again, they're going to tell you this is really, really important, but it's not. Or there are lots of other things that are, and you better expect lies that we're going to get back to you. Remember, your actions speak so loudly, I can't hear what you say. Have absolutely no expectations beyond going from first base to second base to third base. You might get on third base and the game gets rained out. The lights go off and you don't know what happened. Have no expectations about it. Just get from first to second to third base. Prepare well and sell yourself very well. And remember, you can't control what happens. You can control how you deal with it. Now, as you move up in the interviewing process, remember that stories demonstrate your qualities. Stories remove people from their individual prejudices. People love stories. You should have 2 or 3 stories about yourself that support the kind of experience and the successes that you've had. We get into it in the Job Search Solution program. Don't make them real long, about a minute, minute and a half. But you should have 4 or 5 stories that support everything you're saying about yourself. People love stories. That's why Christ told them. That's why the Buddha told them. That's why Aesop told them. People love stories. You got to have some stories that demonstrate your successes. Expect ignorance. The higher up the ladder you go in the interviewing process, the more ignorant these people are going to be about what you're doing and what job you're interviewing for. Expect that. And if you get the feeling that they are ignorant, ask personal questions. People love talking about what? They're right. Ask personal questions. How long have you been with the company? You ought to Google everybody you interview in a company. There's something about everybody. And if you can't find anything, ask the initial interviewing person that you had, tell me all there is to know about this person so that when I go interview with them, I'll know about them. Remember to sell yourself and do what I call dance with what brung you. Whatever got you there, keep doing it. And, real important, when you get to those interviewing authorities, as you move up the ladder, you've got to ask, Are you going to recommend me? And they'll say things like, well, it's really not my decision, it's Leroy's, but, you know, no, I didn't ask that. Are you going to recommend me to Leroy? If you get an answer like, well, I'm really not sure, I really don't know, we've got 10 others to interview, you got to realize you might be going in the wrong direction. Are you going to recommend me? Hard, cold question. You need to practice it because you're in a position of being rejected or refused and you don't want to be. But that's what you have to ask. Now, here are the things to watch out for when you go on to those next interviews. Corporate visits. I mentioned it before, but I hate them. They line up a whole bunch of people that have nothing to do with the job, but they feel like that they need to. Be on your guard and sell yourself well. Lunch, dinner, social interviews. I hate them. Okay? Never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, drink alcohol in those kind of interviews. I don't care if the interviewing or hiring authority proceeds to get sloshed. You don't drink. And be very careful when your spouses or dates or anybody are invited. A number of years ago, I had a CEO interviewing a high-level vice president of sales. He and his wife took the vice president of sales and his date to dinner. During the dinner, the CEO found out that this was this guy's live-in girlfriend. At the end of the dinner, he said, as far as my company is concerned, you are a sinner. And we don't hire sinners in our organization. And that was the end of the deal. Think. Social outings, golf outings, 4th of July parties. I've had people's kids go to 4th of July parties and screw it up because they were unruly. I knew a guy that a number of years ago used to take people to play golf to see if they cheated. Because he figured if they cheat on the golf course about their score, they'd cheat him. I recommend staying away from them if you possibly can. Just be on your guard. They are still interviews. Now, concept. You've got to operate out of vision of gain rather than fear of loss. And what often happens when you get into the interviewing situation is you're going into that second or third interview and you're thinking, oh my goodness, things are going real well. And then you clam up and you start interviewing more out of fear of loss than vision of gain. Perfect example of this, 1982 NFC Championship, if you're old enough to remember this, between the Dallas Cowboys and the 49ers. Cowboys were ahead the whole game. They came out the second half and they started playing out of fear of loss rather than vision of gain. In the last 4 minutes, San Francisco gets the ball, drives the field, throws the catch, and the Cowboys lose. They were playing out of fear of loss rather than vision of gain, and the 49ers were playing out of vision of gain. Don't do that in your interviewing. Never let the fear of striking out get in your way. Sell yourself really hard. Do what you've done before. Get good coaching from the people that you're interviewing with and sell with intensity. Remember, just because they say we'd like to hire you, until you have an offer, you don't have anything. Make sure your references are available. Make sure you've asked them. Don't do that until you are about ready to get hired. If you are working in a small circle of organizations that people know you, you best expect backdoor references. I go into this quite a bit in the online program as well as the book. Watch out for backdoor references. If you expect them, you need to be ready. You need to expect them and be ready for it. And also, especially in this day and age, be ready for credit and background checks as well as drug testing. If your credit has been bruised, you need to ask them when they get to the altar, are you going to check my credit? And if it's been bruised, you need to explain that it's been bruised because of the economy.